existing transportation patterns, and again, what that will mean in terms of assignment stability.
Excuse me,
And
the distance to the school, how about the time to the school?
So we'll be looking at average bus time. You can cover that in the FAQ up front. So yes, we'll be looking at average bus times.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. And how? Sorry.
Is that a change?
Sorry, I didn't hear
Is
that.
that a change that you're looking at average bus time?
Change.
Is that a change to the study? Because they thought they said they were only looking at distance.
Thank you. We really are going to ask people to hold their questions until the end of the presentation. There are a lot of people here who've made the time in their evening to hear the information. We have questions at the end, and we also have note cards on the table where we will capture any questions that haven't been answered, and we'll be answering those and providing those answers online. So we need to continue with the presentation so that everybody can hear all the information, and a lot of these questions will get answered as we go.
And I think what we also want to do through this study is really try and understand how are these lenses interrelated. So when, for example, you understand utilization, that's a separate bucket. You understand diversity, that's a separate bucket. You understand proximity, that's a separate bucket. But really try and sort of see what happens when it all comes together. Right? So try and understand what happens in overutilized schools in terms of diversity or proximity issues, and vice versa. Right? So we want to understand these factors not in its sort of in its isolation, but really try and understand the interrelationship of that. And our project approach is sort of this balance between data analysis or community engagement, or as how I'd like to call it, sort of the data intelligence and community intelligence. Like I mentioned earlier, like data does not tell us the full story. It does not paint an accurate picture. What does paint an accurate picture are sort of your narratives and community's narratives, because you, in a lot of ways, sort of are the ones facing these issues on the ground today. So we do want to learn from that. We do want to make sure that we capture that input, and then sort of how can that help our data analysis effort, so that at the end of the day, when you objectively sort of put this report in front of the board, and which will also be, of course, available to you guys, how can you sort of start to see data and community inputs in relationship with each other as well. So the project will be done in 3 phases. Phase 1 would be data analysis, community awareness, and idea gathering. There'll be 6 regional public meetings, this being the 5th one, and there'll be additional targeted outreach with hard-to-reach groups, usually folks that sort of who cannot come out to these meetings because of variety of reasons. So we want to make sure that we meet people where they are and kind of try and do that as much as we can. In phase 2, which will be winter and spring of 2020, we'll be testing ideas and metrics. There'll be additional sort of engagement and sort of outreach activities. There'll be an interactive tool that will be made available, and then you can sort of go into public meetings and outreach from there. Phase 3 would really be about sort of final report and presentation, and again, all of this information will be made. So with that, I think we'd like to turn it over to Steve, who can take us through some of the table introductions.
Excuse me, sir.
Great, thank you,
Sir,
Krishan.
Ma'am, before you start, I just want to say one thing. Please
So-
bear with
so-
me. No, please, just 1 second.
No, because, no, sir, if you
I'm
start,
making a policy statement, okay? This is a very technical presentation. Is it going to be posted on MCPS website tomorrow?
it's already posted.
And the technical definitions of the big words you're using are also going to be posted there?
There's a narration of all the slides that accompanies the actual slideshow.
And the words that we're using, the metrics, will have definitions for those two. That's all I'm asking. I'm not making a policy statement. I'm trying to understand.
We're going to continue to hold questions, and we're going to move into this portion of the evening. Thank you.
Right. So the way the rest of the evening is going to work, we're going to do a very quick table introduction exercise so you can get a chance to know your neighbors briefly at the table, and then we're going to go through a